Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from the MLG studios here in New York City. You're currently watching WCS America, the round of 16. And Nick returns to the desk to join me. What do you think of those games?
Those are some excellent games. I mean, really what it came down to, STC had the advantages in early and mid-game in both those games, but Crank's micro was just purely outstanding. He was always able to land amazing storms, and STC just wasn't quite able to split his units up enough, wasn't really able to get EMPs or snipes off effectively. In Crank storms, just that was the story about those games.
I mean, just think about the point of view of STC there. Of course, having to worry about Zealots and DTs at every single base while also trying to control your Ghosts, Vikings, and your Bio and your Medivacs against whatever Crank is doing across the map. It's just so well played from Crank. Again, Crank moving on to the round of 8. He's going to be the first guy moving on from today's group, which means we have 3 players remaining. Moonglade, Apocalypse, and the STC. And we're about to jump into the losers match, which is going to be Moonglade versus Apocalypse. And, you know, I know a lot of people's hearts out are going out to Moonglade right now. It felt like there were many times when he might have been able to clinch victory, but just unable to make it happen. And now he finds himself against Apocalypse. I think it's definitely doable from Moonglade's point of view, but Apocalypse is a guy who you could just never count him out.
That's right. A lot of creative builds from Apocalypse, and I mean, his match versus STC was insanely tense. A very close series. You've had a lot of long, close series throughout the day. But Apocalypse versus Moonglade should be extremely exciting. I haven't seen Apocalypse play TVZ for a little while, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some insane Mass Hellbat play, even heavy Reaper openings. Or like weird Marine timings. I don't know. He may even do like a battle cruiser rush.
I'm like entertained by the fact that you're trying to guess what Apocalypse is gonna do. It's like one of the most difficult things in the world.
It's so fun. This guy's one of the most fun players to watch. I've never seen a dull game with Apocalypse in it. Absolutely ever. He's always just an absolute pleasure to see his games. And there is the man himself, Moonglade.
Yes. From
Australia. And Moonglade was a little shaken. I was talking to him after that game against Crank, and he was like, yeah, I should have won that. That third game against Crank, he was significantly ahead and definitely kind of threw that one a bit. And it's always frustrating. He's got to figure out a way to bounce back and just focus on the games at hand, because Moonglade is an absolutely amazing player. One of the best guys out there, especially if you talk about non-Korean players, at the very, very top of the list there. And, I mean, let's put it this way. He was in a position where he should have beaten Crank in the best of 3, and Crank's one of the top couple PvZ players in the entire world. So that just shows how absolutely phenomenal Moonglade is at this game. But the first map is going to be on Star Station.
Yes.
And the players are ready. The countdown has begun.
All right, here we go. Losers match, an oh so important match. Who's going to stay alive in WCS America, and who is going to fall to the Challenger League? The first map of this best of 3 will be Star Station. Let's see what happens here. Very interesting map, very diverse, cross positions only. Keep that in mind, so these guys are perfectly aware of where each other is spawning. Here we are in game number 1. I have the pleasure of introducing our 2 players, beginning with in the top right-hand location, your red Zerg player, hailing from Australia. Advanced, barely lost to Crank in a match that a lot of people thought he could have won. He is Moonglade. Of course, his opponent in the bottom left-hand location of Star Station. Present your blue Terran player representing Team Quantic Gaming, hailing from Korea. You never know what you're gonna get. He is Apocalypse.
One thing I'm curious to see on this map is if Moonglade goes for the Roach Hydra composition. That's something that every time I've seen him play Star Station before, he has this really good speed Roach timing that he goes to a very high 3-base econ, then hits a speed Roach timing where the intent, it's not like, oh, I'm going to barrel through the Terran natural and kill all their workers. It's not like an all-in like that. It's the goal is to slow down a Terran taking a 3rd base. And if Terrans don't use siege tanks, of course, Marines, Marauders, Bio trade very well against the Roach or Roach Hydra if they can get equal numbers. But at this specific timing, the Terran's just adding all his add-ons, all the reactors, and the Bio Army is very small. And if they move to take that 3rd base, they can often get overrun by just the massive amounts of units Moonglade is able to produce.
I wonder if Apocalypse, you know, watched those matches, or if he has a gander of Moonglade's playstyle in this matchup, because that's definitely a match that stood out in my mind, of course, from his round of 32 matches. But who knows? Of course, we see Apocalypse opening up with the gas, probably going to get a Reaper out. Yes, that's exactly what's going to happen. And Moonglade also getting a gas for himself. Of course, electing to go for the faster speed is pretty likely, so you can try to retake that map control back from those Reapers.
One thing I'm curious to see is how Apocalypse plays into the mid game. One thing that is for sure, of course, is that he is going to be expanding behind us, but then is he going to go into super fast Hellbat drops? Is he going to go for an interesting bio timing? There's a lot of possibilities for Terran players to follow this up. Vast majority of Terran players go triple CC behind the Reaper. I mean, maybe they'll get the factory, they'll go 1 CC, then factory, then a 3rd CC, something like that. But Apocalypse, he might do something a little bit different.
Yeah, keeping guys in gas for now, so it's not like he's like cutting gas to get those command centers out a little bit faster after making a few Reapers. Adding on that factor, the Reaper going to start heading on into the main base here of Moonglade. Of course, easily able to deal with slow lings. Moonglade right now, he's okay losing maybe a ling or two, but doesn't want to lose too many lings, and also does not want to lose any drones. Just trying to keep that Reaper away, at least until speed gets out. It's going to be much easier to deal with that. And of course, Queens definitely help out as well. But now that the 2 Queens are out on the field, it's going to be very difficult for Apocalypse to get too much damage done to the economy of Moonglade. But it is possible, so we'll have to see how many drones he can kill here.
Reaper's being quite annoying, but the one Reaper mega cornered back to the natural. It's very low.
Both of them died, dude.
Wow. That was actually pretty terrible for Apocalypse.
Yeah, that's like
that's actually, I mean,
it's such a tricky situation. I mean, you have 2 units to manage in the early game, and it's so important you keep those guys alive, because now the map is completely dark to him.
He has no scouting, so he has no idea what's going up. Moonglade is not going to lose any more units. He can just feel free to make pure drones, or he could go for an all-in. He could take a 3rd hatchery right now, whereas normally he couldn't. It's just, and Apocalypse, he lost his scouting. Moonglade can play however he wants, and he lost his ability to continue harassing the Zerg player. So it's like a triple whammy. He's going to have to hope his next phase of the game goes much better than that Reaper harassed. It looks like it's going to involve some type of drop play, perhaps Widow Mimes, perhaps Hellions.
Making that 3rd command center, as you said, is a fairly standard follow-up behind the Reaper play. And we see the 3rd hatchery now being placed up from Moonglade. Now, do you expect him to go for, you know, some sort of 3-base roach stuff and try to really apply a lot of pressure in the mid-game here?
That is his normal style on this map, so I think, you know, if that's a style where if you're ahead in macro, it's very difficult for your opponent to ever establish that 3rd base, because you just continue to deny it. Very difficult to get that set up, and he's definitely ahead in macro just from the way the openings went, denying those Reapers with a very minimal investment in defense. So I'm very confident that if he does that, it's going to be very difficult for Apocalypse to defend, and he knows that as well. So I think he's just going to go for that. There's a double Evo Chamber, so we'll have to see which way he goes with the upgrade path. Is he going to go for the... Actually, if he's going to go for this speed roach timing, he normally would start to layer, then double Evos. Because you want to start the upgrades when the layer's halfway done, so they line up with roach speed. So he might just be playing a standard speeding baiting muteless play. From the Evo timings, it looks like that's more likely.
There's a scan from Apocalypse, able to see the lack of a layer in the main base, but the layer just now started. And there we see the 1-1 on the melee and the carapace. So it does look like he wants to go, at least at this point, for that Ling, Baneling style. And we see an armory being added on here from Apocalypse. So it looks like he wants to start getting into Hellbat production, I would presume.
I really like how Moonglade, you know, knows Apocalypse loves this type of drop aggressive play.
Yeah.
And so he's added in both his bases that have drones at him. He's added a spine and a spore crawler at each base.
Very safe mood, but we see a drop happening, or at least attempting to happen. A medevac with 2 Widow Mines inside, heading straight to the middle of the main and the natural, dropping that down. It might get some drone kills there.
Oh, Queen's going to take the hit.
Oh. Nice of the Queen. Another Widow Mine being dropped there at the natural.
Oh, that one got 3 or 4 drones. Spine crawler.
He doesn't have a layer, so he can't make overseer.
That's right. Layers just finishing. Now he does have spore crawlers moving over, so the mine between the main and natural is going to be taken out by the Queen. The 2 mines in the third base, though, those are about to go off.
Yeah, more drone losses inevitably here for Moonglade. And that can't be fun at all. He needs to get some detection on the field. There we go. Spore Crawler placed right next to that Widow Mine. That's going to get detected. And the Widow Mine was dispersed of in the natural as well, but the 2 remain in that third base. Oh, the Spore sees them, but he's not killing them.
This has been very successful, extremely successful Widow Mine harass.
Yeah.
And it's put Apocalypse even. He was behind from the opening, and now all of a sudden I would say he's ahead. I mean, his third is being set up. He's done so much damage with these. And he has another follow-up with more Widow Mines and Hellbats. This is a really cool drop. 2 Hellbats, 4 Widow Mines.
Yeah, this is Apocalypse for you. He will try to go for this hyper-aggressive strategies of going for these drop plays. Now, Moonglade does see this with his Overlords. How will he react? Again, he already has some static defense in his main base, but again, Hellbats can just ignore that for a little bit. 4 Widow Mines going to be dropped here at the third base. The drone's running for their lives, and Moonglade, no, the drone's not running far enough. A bunch of drone losses there for Moonglade. Meanwhile, the Hellbats trying to get some damage done as well. I'm going to look at workers killed. 27 workers killed, 63 to 52 in favor of Apocalypse. Some great plays here so far in this game.
Moonglade needs detection at that third base. Those Widow Mines, their cooldown is halfway up. Has Moonglade forgotten about he was so distracted by, okay, good. Wait, the Spore's coming back, but will it root?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, I don't think it's going to root in time.
He has to know that.
Oh, 1 hit, more drones down, more drones down, more drones, more.
Oh.
Jesus. What an absolute disaster for Moonglade here. I mean, he's really never been on 3 base economy just because he's lost so many drones consistently. And behind this, there's, what, 4 factories now producing mech units, a 4th command center being built. The army from Apocalypse, it's not that big right now because so much has been sent on these harassing missions. But the production is high enough now that it's going to just keep increasing.
And one of the most difficult things to do against Zerg on Star Station is getting that third up and secured. There's so much area around that third that a Zerg player can really get a nice concave, really get good engagements as you're trying to set that up, as you're trying to get your infrastructure or your army going. Moonglade unable to take advantage of that, and now, again, Apocalypse is going to be happy on 6 gases, 3 bases, sending another drop across the map here, stopping at the watchtower to take care of that Zergling. But he's just building a bunch of Thors, a bunch of Hellbats, and also working on the upgrades.
Moonglade trying to keep track of both Hellbat drops at the same time. Mutalisk should deal with this one, but no, it's about to land. The Hellbats, how many drones can they take out? Not going to get that many here, but meanwhile, the other drop in the main actually defended very well. So Moonglade turning his defense up a notch and takes that one, but the earlier, Widow Mines has done enough damage. He's still, 40 food behind.
I don't know if he's identified the tech progression of Apocalypse here. Because I feel like when you're going against Thors, Roaches is going to be
or Swarm Host.
Right,
yeah.
Swarm Host. Yeah, Swarm Host, absolutely. But we see him continuing with the melee upgrades. So for the Zerglings, he's still going for this Ling, Baneling, Muta style, which I don't necessarily think is the best decision against all these Thors and Hellbats.
It's going to be tough. I mean, if he can somehow deal with the Thors and perhaps the Mutas can clean up and see how much damage he can do on the harass. Oh, if the Mutas are so clumped, where are those Thors at?
Oh, they're so close to trying to get to volley down the 4 Thors marching forward, and now he knows exactly what's going on. Meanwhile, we have a medevac sneaking into the third base of Moonglade, trying to get some more drone kills. Nice reaction here from Moonglade, pulling those Lings over, trying to target those down. Spore Crawler taking care of that medevac, but not before a lot of Lings get singed away. And he canceled the +2 melee attack to start up with +1 missile, so it looks like we are going to see an attempted Swarm Host transition here from Moonglade.
Oh, another Hellbat drop goes in natural. This time, they'll not get... Actually... Oh, is he going to... He actually gets a good amount of drones. I think he's gotten 7, 8, or 9 at this point with this Hellbat drop. So far throughout the game, he's killed 46 drones. Just so relentless with this harass. And we have a mech player who's at 180 supply against a Zerg who's only 140. He's trying to do that Swarm Host transition, but it may be too late. There's going to be a 200 food mech push once Apocalypse maxes out, and that's going to be very difficult to stop.
All right, we'll see what happens. Moonglade definitely a tricky situation for him. Ling's trying to be sent into the third base, but so many Thors are there. Mutas might try to keep Apocalypse's army back home as much as possible so we can buy time to get those Swarm Hosts out and really start setting those up and getting that mass number that you want. But the question is, will Apocalypse take the bait? Will he have sufficient defenses back home to justify actually moving out?
This orbital might go down. Those Thors are out of position. In fact, Apocalypse is just going to go for the attack.
Gotta repair.
Oh, I think it's done for. And you know what? Moonglade, this is a situation where he actually could be okay in a base trade if he can keep the Stormhost alive. And as he loses bases, if he can whittle down the mech force, at the same time, though, his Mulists have to destroy the economy of Apocalypse.
3 turrets already at that 4th base. Apocalypse realizing how important it is to keep those extra bases alive. Now marching forward with a huge Thor army towards that 4th base. Swarm hosts are now in effect. The Locust being sent in that direction. But look at this. Apocalypse picking up some of those Hellbats.
Oh, he's looking to drop on the Swarmhost. If Moonglade can somehow synchronize all his Locust waves, Mute is taking some big hits there.
All right, Hellbat's trying to be dropped on top of the Swarmhost.
Mutas, you're supposed to protect your Swarmhost.
I think this might be a very dangerous
Swarmhost gonna send it. Moonglade is definitely hurting here, but if he can keep the Swarmhost alive, every Locust wave may eventually wear down that mech army. He's got to get them out of there, though.
You got to drop them when they have the Locusts, send the Locusts, pick up, run away. That's exactly what Moonglade has to do to stay into this game. Apocalypse pressing forward with so many Thors. Also has some Hellbats still in this army as well. And Moonglade desperately trying to hold his front door. 4 more Swarmhosts in production. And
I think he's done it.
Is he going to have enough?
Yeah, the Locust pack is big enough now. The Thors can't push through it. Thors are extremely bad against the Locusts. I mean, they have single target damage. They're big. Wow. It takes, I think, 2 shots to kill a Locust from a Thor, which is pretty significant. In fact, it might even take 3 depending on if you're out upgraded, which actually he's not. He's good upgrade. So only still 2 shots though per Thor. And the Locusts are able to get in close and do some good damage.
This is exactly what Moonglade needed now. A problem is going to be here setting up a 4th base, because as it stands, Apocalypse, he's on 4 bases. He's happily on 4 bases. Even sending a command center over to that 5th base, he has plenty of money in the bank, and you know, he just has to make sure, keep his economy in store, try to counterattack when you can to deny that 4th base, because if Moonglade is limited to 3 bases, sure, you can have all these Swarm hosts, but it can get tough as the game goes along, especially considering Apocalypse adding on 3 additional starports. He might go to match Raven or something.
And it looks like that's exactly what he wants to do. Of course, Ravens are very good against Swarm hosts. You can fly in there and launch all those Seeker missiles, but it's going to take a little while to build up that Raven count, or he might even want to go Banshee. We'll have to see. There's no Mutilus of that.
Sure.
Banshees, of course, aren't as good in the long run. They're more easily countered, but they're a much better quick solution. Oh, he's going to try to use Thor drops on the Swarmhost. This is where Moonglade really wanted to keep those Mutilus alive.
Yeah.
But instead he's making 16 roaches. That'll do the trick as well.
All right, Thor is being sent right to that potential 4th base, but nothing is there at the same time. Attacking on the right-hand side of the map. Moonglade needs to focus on keeping this these extra bases alive, but he's having to abandon ship there at that 4th. The hatchery will fall. Great job there from Apocalypse denying that base. Also dropping 2 Thors in his opponent's natural expansion, trying to get damage done there. Meanwhile, Moonglade sending the Locust towards this mech army, and Apocalypse is going to back away, but I feel like he's happy taking down that 4th.
Great heads-up play by Moonglade, using the roaches as defend, but a Thor drop is going to go straight to the main. Medevac's coming in now. The Spore Color has weakened them, but they're still alive. That's where the Hive is. That's where the Spire is, and Thor's killed buildings very quickly.
This is, again, a weakness of the Swarm host. It's very hard to deal with these counterattacks, but now Moonglade adding on roaches into the mix. He's going to use those to try to take care of those Thors. Meanwhile, Swarm host extending forward a little bit, getting a little bit greedy there, but going to pop those Locusts out, and Apocalypse has to be careful not to lose too much here.
Definitely does. He was able to take out the Spire Moonglade, but he lost both the Thors, and these Locusts are continually killing a lot of his units. This almost reminds me, we saw some games between Maker and Moonglade earlier, I believe it was. Or was Maker and...
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think it was Maker and Sumzerg. I figured it was Moonglade, where just the mech just kept bleeding out. It's so expensive to replace these Thors, the siege tanks, that every time you lose them to Locust, it's a very big blow.
All right, we see the Roaches heading toward this additional base. Going to try to take down as much economy as possible. Ravens are there, not seeing any Hunter Seekers just yet. Thor's doing their damage from the ground. And Moonglade going to back up from that position. But here are the Swarm hosts at this 4th on the right-hand side of Apocalypse. The Locusts being sent forward. These Locusts are going to take down these buildings so fast. Apocalypse realizing he's like, all right, I'm canceling those. I got to remake those somewhere else.
Apocalypse wants to build up that Raven count. Once he has enough Ravens, if there's no anti-air, he can fly in and Seeker Missile all the Swarm hosts and you know, at least take out a good chunk of them. Right now, he's trying to rely on mobility. Knows he can't fight the Swarm host straight up, so he's saying, okay, we'll trade a base for a base. I have more bases, so that's okay. As long as I keep doing this and then eventually build up a counter to the Swarm host.
marching towards that fourth base. Has to be careful not to completely isolate his army, because if Moonglade can get in the proper position, potentially set up a flank with Locust, come in from another direction with Roaches.
He's doing that. Swarm Host going in 2 different directions, half in each way. But Apocalypse is going to back away probably before that trap can be sprung.
Yeah, going over to the left-hand side, Moonglade, a nifty idea there, but not able to work out. The Ravens coming forward. Look out for the Hunter Seekers onto the Ravens.
They're making sure they're close to the Swarm Host so they can't outrange him. Not quite using them yet. Actually, they're going to wait. He's going to be patient and say, all right, let's wait for a few more. Going for it. I'm just waiting for these Seekers. The Swarm Host.
So the idea behind this, again, for people not familiar, if you activate Hunter Seeker, but the enemy runs out of range, the Hunter Seeker will fizzle out, and you're going to lose all that energy. So Apocalypse, being very patient, very careful, wants to make sure the Storm Host can't get out of range before unleashing those Hunter Seekers.
He may be trying to wait until they use that burrow ability. Of course, then unburrowing takes an extra couple seconds. Yes. Oh, the Ravens are coming in. Here's the Swarm Host. No, Swarm Hosts are going to scuttle away. They're not going to be close to that. A Roach counter denies this space again, so that's a nice win for Moonglade.
These Banshees out on the field. And, of course, the Ravens can obviously detect a burrowed Swarm Host. So this is actually a pretty dicey situation for Moonglade. I mean, I feel like this is a pretty cool play from Apocalypse on how to deal with these Swarm Hosts. If you have those Ravens always over them, they're not going to burrow. I'm sorry, they're not going to burrow, because then they're going to get Hunter Seekered, and then he's going to lose a bunch of them. And it's a situation where, with the Ravens, you're trading energy for killing those expensive Swarm Hosts, which is huge.
Right here, Moonglade really needs to get his anti-air up to speed. He's getting some Corruptors at his arm, which is going to work great. Ideally, if he had a little more gas, he could add in a few Infestors as well to help lock down those Ravens. But as is, there's nothing to stop these Corruptors from just killing all the Banshees. The Ravens can... Oh, looks like
he can run into the Banshees.
That's exactly what he's doing. The Corruptors staying on top of the Banshees and taking them out with the splash.
Wow, great move there from Moonglade, but still 3 Banshees alive. This hatchery is going to fall. The drones running away as fast as they can. 13 more Corruptors in production here from Moonglade. Even though he's having these bases for such short amount of time, still able to get resources out to continue adding on to his army. And the Corruptor's able to clean up the Banshees. Moonglade doing a great job dealing with the Banshees and the Ravens.
Apocalypse adding more and more Ravens. He's able to escape with a lot of his Ravens, but he had to burn a lot of energy. So next battle, ideally, he'd have something to help supplement against the Corruptors, either fighting with the Thors or adding Vikings into the mix. Thors are great against Corruptors, but if there's too many Locusts, the Thors are just going to have to retreat, and they won't really be able to take part in that air battle.
Whose position do you like right now the best?
Honestly, I like Moonglade's better.
I think I do too.
I feel like if Apocalypse had like 2 battle cruisers, or I would favor his position, because you just need something that allows you to throw down PDDs, and then that something can kill the Corruptors.
Yes.
But he doesn't really have that. It's all going to come down to Seeker missiles. If he can land the Great Seekers, he's going to win. Otherwise, it's going to be Moonglades. And he needs the Thors to get in close to push back the Corruptors, but that's so difficult with all the Locusts. Yeah. The Locusts are again denying this space. Apocalypse just waiting to get more and more Ravens, more and more Raven energy. He's going to fight the Locusts.
Another Thor being dropped in the north, by the way.
Oh, nice move.
Denying that hatchery.
Looks like Roaches are going to defend that.
11 more Corruptors in production here from Moonglade. I'm trying to process this game.
So, I mean, is this going to come down to literally Seeker missiles?
Yeah.
With this many Ravens, he doesn't have any Vikings or battle cruisers, so it's all down to the Seekers. Can he kill either all the Swarm Hosts or all the Corruptors? If he kills all the Corruptors, he's going for the Swarm Hosts!
Gotta unburrow the Swarm Hosts, running them back as fast as possible. The Corruptors trying to target down the Ravens, but the Hunter Seekers going down onto the Corruptors. Moonglade needs to split those up as fast as possible. A lot of damage being done, but still plenty of Corruptors here remain, and all the Ravens essentially taken out except for 4 more in production, but that wasn't terrible at all for Moonglade.
No, that was a huge win for him. In fact, that was Apocalypse's lifeline, was those Seekers. And, I mean, using them on the Corruptors are fast enough they can split up and push on top of the Ravens. You have to have something else there to help support those Ravens. Or just have, like, 30 Ravens, and then you use auto turrets to support them.
Another Raven getting taken out there. 2 more in production. Apocalypse having trouble coming up with an answer. Has plenty in the bank. 3K, 1K, continually trying to deny additional bases. Banshees taking down a hatchery in the north. Locust doing more damage to these Hellbats that are now being made here for Apocalypse. Again, Apocalypse trying to come up with an answer, but Moonglade just has way too much.
Poor Banshees. All these Banshees being taken on. That's a lot of starport production time. Now he's realizing that, okay, Corruptors seem to be killing all my air units. Maybe I should get some Vikings. But I think it may be too late now, because even if he can beat the Corruptors with the Vikings, he no longer has any Banshees. He only has a few Ravens left, which means he can't deal with the Swarm Host, even if he can take out the Air Forces of Moonglade.
Moonglade being so patient throughout this game, slowly crawling his way back into this game. He's lost his hatcheries so many times at the top and on the right-hand side, but just, again, patiently rebuilding them, patiently resaturating, and now he's in a great position. Big engagement going to happen here. Corruptor's trying to target on the Ravens, running out of range of the Hunter Seekers, or at least trying to, and he is going to be successful. A Raven actually targeting itself, or something happened there.
I think that was intentional. He was going to try to run the Raven into the opposing army and use the splash, but it didn't work out either way, and now more Ravens being taken out. These Corruptors just have no answer.
Thor's trying to get some shots off there. We see a PDD, but the Corruptor's just going to run away again. And Apocalypse throwing that to GG. Moonglade somehow, some way. It took him so long to scout out that mech transition, but able to barely get enough Swarm Hosts out in time to fend off that attack. And then, of course, putting together the pieces to make that progression into the late game work. What a fantastic Game 1 win there from Moonglade.
Absolutely beautiful play there. I mean, Apocalypse's Widowmine harass crippled him.
Yeah.
He was at such a worse economic situation, but his composition, his knowledge of late game was superior. He knew, okay, I built Corruptors to counter Ravens and Banshees, and if he doesn't make anything to counter Corruptors, I'll just keep making more Corruptors, and the Storm Hosts are never going to die. And just slowly grind out his army. Even though I don't have much economy, I don't really need it if I don't lose any units.
Wow, what a great game there from Moonglade. Apocalypse, a little bit of a smirk there. Of course, don't count Apocalypse out. There were so many moments of brilliance in that game, getting so much damage done with that harassment, but unable to, again, piece together that late game puzzle as far as coming up with an answer to that composition of Moonglade. Guys, anything can happen here in WCS America. This is the losers match of Group B. The loser will be knocked into Challenger League. The winner moving on to play the STC in the losers bracket final. Guys, stay tuned. Apocalypse versus Moonglade, Game 2 coming up.